Well, hello. I am here in the sanctuary as I am hoping that with the help and the grace of God and the will of the Lord that we will all be here in this place on Sunday. Very soon we should be able to come together again as the family of God is intended to come together in person and worship Him in person. You know, while the restrictions have been eased up and are being lifted across the country for gatherings and that sort of thing, we have to remember that the risks of the COVID-19 virus have not gone away. It still poses a very real risk, especially to those who are over a certain age or who have underlying conditions. And we're learning every day that those underlying conditions that can cause complications, that list is getting bigger every day, it seems. And we're also learning that there may be, long-term consequences for those who have contracted the virus and have recovered. What I'm saying is that I believe there is still a very real danger. And I'm not trying to overblow or overstate the risk, but I don't want to understate them either. We need to proceed with wisdom and with caution, but we also need to move with faith and trust. And sometimes it's a balancing act trying to work your way through things when those things seem to be at odds. Wisdom and faith, sometimes they feel like there's a tension between them, but there doesn't have to be. And I will be honest with you, I have not come to this decision lightly or without much thought and much prayer. I have been wrestling with it. If you were to ask my family, they would tell you, I've been wrestling over this for a while, and the Lord seemed to give me an answer this morning, and I posted about it on Facebook, social media this morning, about a passage in Psalms where he says that the wise consider the steadfast love of the Lord. And I was praying for wisdom about this very situation, about whether or not we should open up church on Sunday and gather together in person. And then that was in my morning reading. And I thought, you know what, Lord, you love us with a never-ending and steadfast love. And if we are smart and if we do things the way that we're supposed to do, if we follow the rules, then we're not reckless, we're not tempting the Lord. There's no reason why God wouldn't honor what we're doing as we try to honor Him. So we are going to have church here together on Sunday morning, but we are also going to observe some changes, okay, in order to make everyone, in order to maximize the safety, in order to follow the rules and be wise while still stepping out in faith. So the first of the changes that you will probably notice is that I'm going to ask you to avoid physical contact. We are a hugging church, but we can't be for the next several weeks probably, at least until we know more. So I'm going to ask you let's not shake hands, let's not hug one another. You may be okay, you may feel like, oh, there's no problem, I'm not infected, and you may walk up to hug somebody, but you don't know what that other person is thinking. You don't know how uneasy they are about everything that's going on. And it may have been a real step of faith for them to even get out of the house to come here to gather in a closed-in space with a bunch of other people. And when you break that 6-foot barrier and you break the physical distancing rules, you may be putting other people at maybe if you're not putting them at risk, you may be putting them at unease, and we don't want to do that. So let's respect the rules. Let's try not to shake hands and hug one another, and let's try to stay as far apart as we're supposed to. At least you can get close to your own family unit, of course, but people who you don't live with, let's keep our distance. We're going to have to be okay with a smile and words of encouragement and love. And we're going to have to be okay with that for a little while. So that's the first difference that you're going to notice. Secondly, if you have a mask, I'm going to ask that you wear it. I know that's going to look weird and it's going to feel weird, especially in the house of God, but the purpose of wearing the mask isn't to protect you from getting any kind of illness. It's to keep you from spreading or to mitigate the chances of you spreading any kind of illness that you may have, that you may or may not even know of. So I'm going to ask that we all wear masks. I don't know how it's going to work out, me trying to preach with a mask on, but we'll see. And it may be that you're far enough away that I don't have to wear one, but I'm just going to ask everyone for the time being, if you have masks, wear them. We do have some extras here, homemade masks that were made by Jeanette. Thank you to Jeanette for that. So if you don't have one and you come here, we have a few that we can give to people. You will notice that every other row in the sanctuary will be blocked off. We're going to do that so that we can put distance between you and the person in front of you to try to keep that physical distancing. So don't sit on the rows that are blocked off. Please, respect that. All the children will be staying in the sanctuary. We won't have a children's pull-out like we normally do. This is how the churches across the country are doing it. I've been in contact with other churches in the area. That's how they're doing it. A lot of churches are opening up, but they're not opening up their children's church just yet. And so for at least the time being, we will not be having a children's pull-out. All the children will need to stay in the sanctuary with their families. We will not do our normal meet and greet, which I hate not doing that, but in order to keep the physical distancing and to minimize physical contact, we're just going to skip that part. And also, when it comes to taking up or receiving an offering, or tithes and offerings, we're not going to do that the way we normally do either. Instead, we'll have a box by the door back there so that when you leave, you can drop your tithe and offering in there. Or we'll have it there when you come. You can do it when you come in also. But on that note, I do want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to all of you who have been so faithful through this time. I know that economic times are uncertain right now. There's a lot of economic uncertainty for a lot of people. But many of you, so many of you, have been consistent and faithful, and you've even increased your giving. This is exactly what Paul was talking about when he wrote about the Macedonians. He wrote to the Corinthians about the Macedonians, and he said, out of an overflowing of joy and extreme poverty, they gave generously. And that's what I feel like I can say about many of you, is that you have been so generous in your giving. And because of that, even though the house of God hasn't been full, we've not had service or not had specific times where we've collected offerings, we've still been able to make our obligations. And all glory goes to God for that, for moving upon your hearts to be so generous. And so from the bottom of my heart, thank you for that. But we will continue to have opportunities for you to give, and we'll do that at the door. We won't ask everyone to gather around the front like we normally do. And then, speaking of doors, we'll either have them propped open or somebody will be attending the door so that you don't have to touch the door handle. We don't want you to touch the door handles, because the more people that touch it, the more germs get on it, and we don't want it to be a source of spreading germs. So, if you have to wait for someone to open the door for you, just wait. We'll come open the door. But we'll try to have that either propped open or somebody attending it so that we can let you in and out. And if you'll just help us out with that. And then lastly, and this is probably most important, if you are ill, if you feel sick at all, or if you are elderly and you are part of the high-risk group, you have underlying conditions, and you don't feel like it's wise for you to get out right now, we totally get it. We love you, and we want you to stay home with our blessing. All right? We will pray for you, and we will try to connect with you in other ways. I do not want anyone to put themselves in any unnecessary risks. The Bible says the Lord loves a cheerful giver. And that's not just talking about money. It's our time and our talent and our treasure. So when you give of your time, it should be cheerfully. When you come into the house of God, it should be with a thankful heart and a worshipful attitude. And if you're coming and you're afraid or you're resenting because, oh, they're having church and I got to be there, then that's not the right attitude. I would rather you be at home and feel comfortable and safe in your home and catch the service online than come here and feel like you're being putting yourself at risk. So there is no condemnation. There is no, we get it. And that's what again, just coming to the decision to have service Sunday was a big deal for me. And if I hadn't read that passage this morning, it just seemed like God's providence that was there, then I probably would have made a different decision about this. So I totally get it, and we all totally get it. So again, if you're not feeling well, or if you are just not comfortable with the idea of getting out because you don't want to take the risk, we get it. Please stay home and connect with us online. All right? But let us know that you're connecting with us online. We don't want anyone to fall through the cracks. We love you, and we want to be able to fellowship with you and see you happy and healthy. So there's that. And then lastly, I know this is going to be different. I know it's going to be different for everybody. And church is going to look different. And if we allow it, these limitations can steal our joy, and they can make us almost resent coming into the house of God. And no one wants that. No one wants that. But we have to remember why it is that we gather. Are we gathering so that we can see one another? Are we gathering so that we can shake hands and give and receive hugs? Is that why we gather? I would say no. I would say that we gather for the glorious purpose of seeing and savoring Christ in His Word. That's the Scriptures. And in the world, that's one another. When I can see Jesus on the face of each and every one of you as you walk in the door, and when you smile and say hello, when you give your testimonies of how good God has been to you, that helps me to savor Christ. And we can see and savor Christ with joy and with great expectation, even with these limitations. And they are limitations that we will have for just a short while. This too shall pass. And I would like to say we'll get back to normal, but I really don't want to get back to normal. I want to get back to better than normal. I want to have a zeal for the house of God like we've never had before. And I hope that you have that too. So I love you all. I love you all very much. Please keep the church in your prayers as we navigate these waters. Please pray for each other as we all navigate these waters. And I can't wait to see you on Sunday. Those of you who can make it, I can't wait to see you. And for those of you who can't, we'll see you online. God bless you. Bye-bye.